Welcome.
You're now listening to Dirty Feet.
Bonjour, oui, vous êtes sur les ondes des pieds sales, a.k.a.
Dirty Feet podcast on No More Radio.
Been hosted by
Joanie Farran,
JD Papillon,
Allison Burns. Stay tuned, we're going to move you.
Dance me to the beauty of a burning violin. Dance me through the panic till I'm gathered safely in. Lift me like an olive branch and be my homeward dawn. Dance me to the end of love. Dance me to the end of love. Let me see your beauty when the witnesses are gone. Let me feel you moving like they do in Babylon. Show me slowly what I only know the limits of. Dance me to the end of love. Dance me to the end of love. Dance me to the wedding gown. Dance me on and on. Dance me very tenderly. And dance me very long. We're both of us beneath our love. We're both of us above. And dance me to the end of love. Oh, dance me to the end of love.
This week we have a sort of an international episode for Dirty Feet. We've got an amazing group of dance artists in the studio right now. Artists, I mean, they do so much, so it's hard to pin it just on dance. They're from the Granhøj Dance company, and they're presenting Dance Me to the End on/off Love at the Centaur Theatre. They started presenting the work March 19th, and it's running all the way till April 14th. And I can tell you that they have shows from Tuesdays to Saturdays in the evening, and they have matinees on the weekends as well. So there's lots of chances left to see it. So when we're done dazzling you with these wonderful personalities by the end of the hour, you can always run out and go and catch the show. So they're from Denmark. And it's a big company, and they're presenting a work that is celebrating the music and lyrics of Leonard Cohen, and they do this through dance, through live music, through some would say kind of performance art tableaus, and also some theatrics and some storytelling or monologues, you could say. So it's a full show. It's an entertaining show. It's a celebration. It goes many places, both intense emotion and humor. And anyway, if you can tell, I have seen the production, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. So now we're gonna go to our guests and have them talk a little bit more, so I can stop stumbling over my tongue here. So the first person I want to introduce is Palle Granhøj, who is the artistic director and founder of the company. And this is also sort of your autobiography, I've heard you say in other interviews.
Yes, I think I call it, it can be considered as a self-portrait. And the reason why I say considered is that you do not have to look at it like that. But for me, that was the way to start producing that piece. Mostly because before, in the name of Granhøj Dans, I've done 3 other portrait pieces about portraying the person that is on stage, just in front of the audience, not a person that is died or is known by everyone else, but that person just in front of you.
So the performer themselves
Yes.
is the subject of the portrait?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It started actually with a nice story. It started with a woman I met in Cuba. And I don't know, but I invited her to come to Denmark, and she did. And I found out that story of her professional story, she was educated as a dancer in the National Cuban Ballet, which is dramatic to be there. And also the story of being coming from Cuba is dramatic, and then moving to Denmark was everything was dramatic. I felt, so I was thinking, wow, maybe I should do a portrait piece. That was how it started.
But this is your choreographic career. You had a dance career even before that, yeah?
Oh, I have forgot most of that, I would say. But it's true. Yeah.
Where did you start your career, and how?
Oh. It was very late. I was 25, and I was doing gymnastics. I was walking more on my hands than on my feet. And then, to make it very short, I fall in love with a ballerina. And that made everything change.
I take it a lot of this conversation is going to be about love today.
Hopefully.
Dance me to the end on off love. Wonderful. And then, so this Cuban dancer, was that your inspiration for a choreographic career, or just for the portrait portion of your style?
The last one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you start your choreographic career?
25 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, maybe this is a question for the end of the interview, but I've been so curious about this, because when you say something is a self-portrait, that's kind of, and as I misinterpreted it at the beginning of the show as an autobiography, it is kind of have a finality to it. After choreographing for 25 years, is this, what is this for you?
First of all, it's a pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge pleasure to be on stage with these wonderful artists I have around me, and I think that was one of the first things I had in my mind. One of the other portraits was that's a woman just being totally alone, totally alone for 1 hour, and that's Anne from this piece also. She's not here today. So I was absolutely sure if I should do a piece that could be considered as a self-portrait, I had to have at least 10 people around me to support me, because it could be, or maybe I should say I have not been on stage for 17 years when I got that idea.
Really?
So yeah, so it was also coming back, so therefore I needed a lot of support. So I invited all these wonderful people, and I'm still happy that they said yes to be a part of it.
Maybe we should introduce some of those people right now. We have 2 other artists in studio. We have Dorte Peterson. Thank you for coming in. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Can we talk about your artistic career just very briefly? You're also from Denmark? Is that
Yes,
correct?
I am from Denmark. I'm actually half German, but still we count me as Danish. Because some of the casts of the other pieces are very international, so there I count as Danish. And I was educated in Denmark. I was one of the first dancers to be trained in Denmark when the first school program for training of modern dancers started. 1992 to 1995. So I'm one of the pioneers, not in Danish dance, but in educated in Denmark Danish dance. So that's 20 years ago. So modern dance education in Denmark is still young.
We also have to talk about the pipes on you, because you do some amazing singing in the show.
The pipes?
Oh, like your vocal cords.
Oh. Thank you for the gesture, Bill. Yes, I do sing in the show.
Was that part of your dance training in Denmark? Is that something that was in addition to it? Is that something you prepared just for the show?
It's not at all a part of the dance training.
Okay.
So the dance education is very contemporary dance training, ballet, modern, lots of different styles. No, when I got into the school, I thought I was going to be a musical theatre star.
Okay.
So I was actually on my way to Germany to get educated, but then there came this school in Denmark.
Why are these guys laughing at you?
Because we love her. Yes, yeah. I mean, who says I want to be a musical star?
I wanted to be a musical star.
That's the only one who can say that kind of stuff.
I don't even think that's very funny. But it's funny today because it never happened. So when I got into the school, I thought they're not going to teach me to sing, so I'm going to get a lot of singing training on the side. And then I started taking lessons. And the funny thing is, then I graduated, and I never, ever had a job in musical theatre. But I only had a job in dance where I could also speak or sing or behave strangely.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, that's a real asset as a performer to have multiple ways of expressing yourself.
Well, I think so too, and I've enjoyed it immensely. But for many years, I was quite frustrated because I really wanted to be that musical star. And you can laugh again. I really wanted to do that thing, and it never happened. But something else happened because in 2000, I think, I auditioned for Palle Granhøj, and I crawled around on all fours while I was singing a song from the 1920s, a Danish evergreen, and he hired me, and I've been around ever since.
Was that your idea or his?
That was my idea.
Okay. Let's get to the third person in the room, the one who was laughing over here earlier. This is Bill Eldridge. Hello, Bill.
Hello.
And can you let us know what you do in the show?
What I do in the show?
Mm-hmm.
I push some buttons and go on stage and move some heads and dance a little bit and I sing a little bit and
And you mean pushing
perform.
buttons literally? I mean,
yeah, I do the lights from on stage from the side, but it's kind of I'm in and out and back and forward.
are you the only one of the performers that's also teching, or are there
No,
more?
Daughter's actually teching with me, and Palle pushes a button as well.
Okay.
But we have a cue. We're just pressing cues in a little light system that we've got.
Is that something that comes from being a touring show and needing to be more self-contained and in control of these things?
I
or
would definitely say that that's a part
Yeah.
of it. Yeah.
you also perform, which is
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
And where did you train?
I trained at London Contemporary Dance School from 83 to 87, and I worked for a few companies in London. Then I came to Denmark, was asked to be in a production. I should have been there for 5 weeks, and I was there for 5 weeks performing and or teaching and in this production of Wojciech. And I kind of fell in love with a girl in Denmark, and I stayed.
There it is again, that theme.
The thing about love. And I stayed, and I worked for some different people, and one day I've knocked on Palle's door and said, "Palle, do you have a job for me?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Okay." But then half an hour later he phoned me up and said, "Yeah, I do, because the guy that was going to come, he's not coming anyway." And so I started working with Palle. And that was like around 1990-something, 93, 4, 5, something like that, if I remember correctly. I was in a few productions, and then I stopped in 1998. And then I haven't done anything since that's had anything to do with dance. And then in March last year, Palle phoned me and said, "I'm making a new production. I need you to be in it." And I said, "When do you start?" And he said, "Monday." So I had a weekend to think about it, and I said, "Yeah." And now I'm here.
Was that a good decision?
It's the best decision I've made in years.
How is it to get back into dance training after so many years?
It was kind of difficult, but I'm not. I don't have to dance the way I used to dance when I was 20 or 25 or whenever. So we produce closely with Palle, but we make things by ourselves, and then we've maybe been given a text or a word or something. Good morning. The next hour we work alone in a corner, do your own stuff, and then we meet together again and we show it to each other, and then we start destroying it, and then then about 3 months later, Palle comes back and says, that was great, that was great, that was great, that was great. And then he does his magic and puts it all together.
Was it a bit jarring, that change of how you relate to your body after so many years away from dance?
Yeah, I hadn't done anything with dance whatsoever. I was doing completely different things. So I never thought I was going to be on stage again. So I'm looking after myself. I'm old.
But how about with your body? Do you feel that relationship of you and your body as a performer, as a dancer, has changed tremendously since the last time you danced?
Well, I think I was always very... my body and my feelings and my mind were always in my dance, but I mean, at this age, I'm 52, it touches me even more. I cry sometimes. Not because it hurts, because I think it's fantastic. Also to have the opportunity to come back and be with these wonderful people on stage. And I'm in 3 productions. I'm waiting to come into a 4th production in the fall. So I'm busy, so I'm really happy and being on stage again. But I think I've got even more of me in it than there ever was before. Not that there wasn't anything before.
We got a sneak peek into that creative process, talking about the dialogue and working on your own ideas. Can we talk about Palle, how about Leonard Cohen and his inspirational influence on you?
Absolutely, yeah.
Especially considering that you consider it a self-portrait kind of work.
Yeah.
Do you feel that there is a bit of a kinship between you and Cohen?
Yes, absolutely. I found out that, or maybe I should say that the basic way I'm working is what I call obstruction technique, and that is, like Bill just said, it's based on deconstruction, or it's hiding. No, what's it called? Limiting the dancer's movement. When they have done a piece of material, I'm limiting in many ways the movement or the expression that they have created, and that's what I call obstruction technique. So you can imagine if one arm was supposed to do a full movement, and then you start going against it, there's something else coming up. It creates new energy, everything is new when you start stopping the movement, and that big energy, that power it has, could be similar to a longing inspiration, and that is the basic of Mr. Cohen's work, is the longing.
If I understand correctly, you literally will tie people, their limbs down. Yeah.
For instance,
physically,
or it could be physically, or it could be another dancer. So there's a whole system. So when we go into the rehearsal room in a production, there's a whole system that is put on the dancers, with a lot of rules about how to move. So basically they do a piece of material in the first hour, and then all these rules are putting on top of that material, and it's called serendipity, actually. In a theoretical world, that you are working on one thing and something else appears. For people who are not familiar with serendipity, it's how Post-it was found. It's a lot of Viagra, for instance, is also found in that way. I should not go into details, but a lot of things in our world has been discovered by not looking for it.
Oh, you mean because it was heart medication?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And then and then
we decided
exactly.
With all the talk about love, we could have been confused there.
Exactly. Yes.
Do you ever feel that those places, those limitations you put, everything that's afterwards that you don't let your dancers go to, those unexplored physical spaces, do you ever regret not going all the way to there?
No. I've never ever had that thought, so that must be because I have not regretted that one. But I feel daughter has something.
I have something to say to that, because don't you remember years and years back, there was actually there was a question of what about all the great stuff that we've done that we're not using because we're only using certain stuff and we're reducing it to something else.
Yeah, that's true.
And out of that came another piece.
Yeah, that's true.
Where all the old stuff that everybody thought was great, that was never used, was actually used in a piece.
Yeah, that's true.
So even though it didn't come from a regret, it came from there's so much more.
Yeah. But as far as I remember, that one was more like, it was not because that the dancers was not able to do the full movement, but because this creative process creates so much material you cannot imagine. I mean, it's for if you have 8 dancers in a performance, and you can imagine every day how much fantastic material just one dancer does, and then together with another dancer that is the obstructor, then together with 2 dancers, with 3, and so on and so on. So it creates so much material that when I have to do the performance in the end, and that is maybe 1 hour piece, there is maybe 199 hours more material, and that was what I call it the second wine. Like in wine production, sometimes you make a first wine and a second wine. So, was that what you were thinking about?
That was definitely what I was thinking of.
The second wine.
So it wasn't regret as such?
No, it was not regret as such. No. So for that, answer that question, no.
Perhaps if we can return to what parallel do you see between yourself and Leonard Cohen?
It started with this parallel about the longing. The longing in the concept of obstruction, and the longing he is using in his. I wrote that not only in his lyrics and the music you feel the longing, but also in his own creative process he uses it. There was a story about that he was in a close relationship once, and he need to go out of it to be, because he did not get so much creativity that he had to go away to feel the longing to be creative again, and I like that. So that was the idea to go into the world, because normally this is the first time using one poet, one composer's music through our whole piece. So that was the reason I went into it. But when I started working or researching in his work, I found out how huge he is. I mean, in Europe, in Denmark, he's huge.
Really?
Yeah. Ooh, yes. Yeah. But here, of course, he's bigger. But I was not aware that he was so big. So therefore I had to say no, I cannot do this piece because it's too much. So I put the idea away for half a year, but then in the end I was longing so much to go back to it that I decided, okay, I have to do it, but then I have to find some people who are willing to try to do. There should not be one single song that should be arranged in a way you have heard it before. So that was the challenge for going into it.
Yeah, in that delicate kind of borrowing of another's work, were you overcorrecting to make it different, to put your signature on it?
Yes, in the opening of the show, I introduce and I say the word is mine, even though the words are of Mr. Leonard Cohen, and then I start to change some of the words in the beginning. As far as I remember, yes, no, it's not in the very beginning. But when I put the Tower of Song, I put that on a screen, and I change some words so it fits more into my personal story.
Well, you also at the beginning you say, I hope I'm not giving away too much, but you also say some of the sources for Leonard Cohen to find his lyrics.
Yes,
it is everybody's borrowing from everybody.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That is hopefully to how do you say, to clarify that I'm not the only one doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you actually meet Mr. Cohen? Did you ask him for permission to use the songs? How did that work?
In Denmark, the rights is taken care of by Koda. I think he is called Sokan. But that was also the situation that there was a little problem with that Cohen was touring last autumn when we were supposed to perform here the first time, and so therefore we had to change the dates to this spring, and that was approved by himself. But I have not met him yet.
And you are in Montreal. Is he? Because he's born in Montreal.
Yep.
And it's a good homage to do to him. Did you know that sometimes people call Centaur and they're like, "So is he going to be there tonight at the performance?"
Yes, I heard that.
This is
hopefully he will be there one night.
Maybe. How does that make you feel to be in the city that started it all?
It's fantastic. It is more special that I could imagine. because we feel on stage, and also from the reaction from the audience, that, but of course it is like that, but we could not imagine that you have a closer relationship to him that we could not possibly, of course we wished to have that opportunity to be in. We feel like going home, I would say, because there is a stronger relationship between you guys and him.
We don't want to go home. We feel like this is coming home.
Yeah. Sorry for my English.
How has the creative process been with the use of Leonard Cohen's material? Have you guys been talking about what the songs meant for you? Have you been discussing any of the musical material in the source as a way to propel the creative process as a group?
Absolutely. I think this is a question more for Dorte. Before we started the production, I choose a lot of songs, but then I ask the musicians, and some of them, Dorte is both dancer and musician, but I asked them to how was it, Dorte? Was it with the 3 versions? Here is a song, do it in 3 versions, or was it in this production?
We've done that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like he said, Palle defines in the morning that I want to use this song today. And then for the hour where the dancers are doing material, usually then we took the song away and did something to it in several versions. Actually, we did that very consequently on the other piece with Thomas Helmi.
That was another.
So we used it here, but not as
You're right.
Not as
You're right.
continuously. But then we go away for an hour, and when we come back, we have a version of the song, or 2 or 3 versions, and then they can be very strange, they can be very easily accessible, or they can be completely out of the blue, just something that can never be repeated. And everything that we do gets recorded on video, so that even if it's something that just happens in the moment, Palle can see it on video afterwards, and then when the whole creative process is over, he takes all the video home and looks at it and says, I want to recreate this one, this one, this one. And all the 97 other ones, we just dump those. But he then chooses what worked in the moment, and then we try to recreate that.
So far you've mentioned that many of you have different roles, so like as tech, musicians, all of that. How do you feel that as performers you can be involved in so many different facets, like aspects of the show, without ever losing yourself in any of them?
I can answer that, I think. Well, working with Palle, being on stage is great because the shows are good, I think. But what really is the really good part is the creative process, because we get to do everything. And even though we're maybe hired as dancers, we can do anything. So it's a great artistic liberty. You can do anything. If in the end he chooses not to use it, well, what the heck, you had the great fun of doing it. And for, 8 weeks, every day you made material, and you could do whatever you like. You could dance if you felt like it. You could shout, you could scream, you could tell stories, you can move in a way that you never ever had the chance to move before. And maybe that is what works, and maybe that is what Palle will use, and tomorrow you'll make something completely different. And that is an amazing liberty. You can do anything. And how often do you really get to do that in any production? So, and even if only a tiny, tiny speck of it will be used in the actual show, it's great. And suddenly you're not just a dancer. Suddenly you're moving, you're telling, you're talking, you're singing, you're playing some kind of instrument that actually just broadens the whole thing of being on stage. It's very, it takes away the limitations, this way of working.
It's curious to me the way that you said when the creative process is done and then he puts the show together. Do you mean that there's no drafts? It's really just exploration and then it's set? Or do you go through, like, you do all these propositions, you create a structure, Palle, and then you see what the show looks like?
It's difficult to answer because there's not I do not have a system in that way. But I have found out that after 25 years, of course, there is a system. But I was not making up a system, but the system created itself. And it's something like that's because of the serendipity. I mean, if you are asking for the serendipity, you cannot have a script, because then I guess that must be clear. But during the process of the creation, the manuscript or the script is being done somewhere in my head.
Does that negate a linear thread in your work? Do you find that you have sort of an abstract plot, or for you is it scenes, because it flows from one to the other? But
this piece is different. All pieces are different. I have to say. So and I hope that also the next pieces will be different, because that's what I like very much. That's a momentum for me, that it should not be the same. But this piece is, of course, and also because it's based on the Cohen's universe, both poetry and music. It is much more music, or I will not go into saying what kind of style it is. I allow other people to do that, but it's different from some of the more dancing pieces we have. I thought you're performing in, I don't know, so many other pieces, and Bill is also in other pieces. The latest performance is called Men and Maler, and that is, I heard some people say this is a dance piece. More, so it's so they are very different. Yeah, it's they are dancing
getting
a lot.
Thumbs up from Bill over there.
Now I'm just talking. I forgot what you asked about.
Drafts.
Drafts, yes.
The linear structure of the work.
Yeah, but it's a part of it. Some theoretical professor one described my process as I wait so long that the piece creates itself. I like that very much, because that made me do not have to be nervous if I can just wait and wait.
It just happened.
Yes, exactly. And but it sounds like maybe I'm not able to have a deadline that is a premiere. We have never ever postponed a premiere. So, but still an opening night.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, it could maybe sound like I wait so long that I cannot be finished for the opening night, but that's not true.
I find it interesting, though, that something that you describe as a self-portrait, but still you can say that the piece created itself. That's something very interesting, because there is this detachment there from something that is so personal at the same time. Do you feel that this applies to this piece also? This detachment from the work?
The reason why it ended up being could be considered as a self-portrait was this was done to celebrate the 20 years anniversary of the company, and I did not know how to do that. So I was looking back on all the other pieces that we have done throughout the 20 years. So this piece is based on, beside Cohen, on all the other pieces throughout the years. So there is props from a piece that was done 10-15 years ago. There is ideas from other people, from other pieces. So in that way, I felt that maybe using all that material and also using some personal stuff in it, it could be considered as a self-portrait.
I want to ask about prop integration, because you have a lot of really interesting set pieces, and I don't want to go into details to get people to keep coming to see the show. But how do you even start to say, okay, I want a pile of heads that look like me? Does that come from the performer's experimentation? How do you envision props when they don't exist yet?
But in this case, they existed because they were from a previous piece. Most of the set for this, some of the set for this piece has been existing in other pieces. For instance, the heads. So they were there. But the other answer, I don't know. If I could answer you, life was much easier.
This actually answers one of my questions that I was going to ask about you asking Bill to come out of dance retirement. Was this why you asked him to come back for this piece, because he had been a part of the company and you felt he was needed in the work again?
It was not this piece. It is another piece that's called Mena Maler. When I invited
that you brought him back out.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
And I get this impression that this work, you've been talking about love a lot, and this work seems to have been made really with this in mind, love for each other and love for this collectivity. Can you tell us a bit about your process with choosing your collaborators? Like, is it just a big extended family that you keep bringing back into your process? How exactly do you choose people you work with?
Granhøj Dans is supported as a project for the State's Arts Council in Denmark. And we exist as a project, and so we have no full-time engaged people. But this season we have more than 30 artists related to the company. We have 6 productions on tour, and we have all in all more than 125 performances in a year. So in that way, maybe that answers your question in a way that there's so many wonderful and fantastic people related to the company that I have the privilege to use them again and again. And for those two sitting here, they have been in many other pieces. So in this particular performance, which should be considered as a self-portrait, of course I had to ask some of the people who have been a part of the way. And most of them, except for most makes it. Yeah, that was English. I have worked with before.
Before the show, we were talking a bit about the scene in Denmark, and this is something really interesting, I find, because we don't hear about it that much in Montreal. Could you tell us a bit about the evolution of contemporary dance in Denmark? Because it's a pretty new scene from what you're saying.
The dance scene in Denmark is very indeed small. First of all, Denmark is small, but the dance scene is very small, and also if we compare to the other Scandinavian countries, and it's still a question going on why, I cannot answer that question. But we have a strong classical ballet, the royal ballet, the Bournonville tradition. Maybe it's because it's so strong that the modern dance has not developed. I don't know, maybe. But if we compare to the other countries, modern dance in Denmark is young. It is not so developed as in the other countries, and it is still not established. There's only one proper company that's called Danish Dance Theatre, and the rest is project like Granhøj Dans. And if you say, for instance, I know that Carte Blanche, the Norwegian company, has just performed here, and I mean that's a big company. And the support from the Norwegian government for that company is more than the whole scene of modern dance in Denmark. So maybe that gives a clear picture of how small dance in Denmark, modern dance is in Denmark.
Do you feel that there are countries, especially which have a big influence on the Denmark scene around? Yes,
I mean, because we did not have an education either for dancers or choreographers. People had to go somewhere else to get an education. I do not have an education at all, but I'm so privileged. All the people I have around me, they have a good education, so I can relax in that way. But they went to Sweden, Germany, Holland, London to get an education. So of course that is the influence that we got. Way back, you could say, it started with American, U.S. women that moved to Denmark and started the scene. So the original modern dances was women from the States in whatever they brought. But now we are 30 years back or something.
And do you feel that there's a lot of support from government? Because your company, from what you're saying, is funded by the government. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's right. But it's a struggle. It's absolutely a struggle, and I'm afraid that the modern dance scene in Denmark is so fragile because the theater in Denmark is strong. I guess you have heard about the film industry in Denmark is very strong. I mean, we're proud of that. So because the dance scene is so small, it's very easy with a little wrong thing on the paper, and we off the record, and that's my concern. Seriously concern.
And what about internationally? Do you feel that Denmark gets enough opportunities to shine internationally and to tour with shows?
For the dance, we are privileged because we tour a lot. And from my point of view, you cannot exist in Denmark if you do not tour internationally, because still the country is so small. But the policy for the people who support, yes, I hope they hear this program. They should learn to say that it's not enough to perform 10 performances in Copenhagen and put a lot of money on that. It does not develop that way. You have to go at least on tour in Denmark. You have to go to other countries to meet the challenge of being confronted with the development in that, with audience, with radio, with critics, with everything, to find out how will you go on further from where you are. And please, Danish politicians, no, it's not the politicians, it's also the juries, of course, who will listen to this wonderful program and change your way of thinking, please.
Do you feel that Denmark is welcoming to outsiders, to like contemporary dance artists coming from the outside? Do you get to see shows from the outside a lot?
Not as much as for 5-10 years ago. At that time we had a lot of festivals, and that was for my point of view, for my personal way, it was like that. I saw a piece from Finland with Jorma Uttinen called Ballet Batetik way back, and I was just blown away, and I thought, this is meant to be my future. But at that time there was big festivals in both Copenhagen and Aarhus, but nowadays they are not there anymore. So that could also be an answer to your question, that maybe it's because we do not invite so much dance to Denmark that we do not get so much inspired anymore. But I had the privilege also to be a presenter for 6 years, and I invited a lot of Canadian stuff to and especially, I mean, being here in Montreal, you have all the big names that they are maybe more well known in Europe than here. I don't know, but they are fantastic names from here.
Like who? Like
who? Of course, the Robert Lepage, but I know he's from Quebec. La Human Step, Edward Locke, and Marie Chouinard. I just saw a piece of her 2 weeks ago. No, it must be 3 weeks ago. And the new upcoming, David St. Pierre, Daniel Levy, all these wonderful companies who have been a big inspiration for people in Europe, at least. So you should be proud of that. Yeah, I think you are.
Yeah.
I guess you are.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
Is it your first time showing work in Montreal?
Yes, first time in Canada.
How do you feel the reaction to your work has been so far since you've been here?
Absolutely fantastic. It has been like, what is that called when you have to...
Goosebumps?
Like if you're dreaming.
Yes, like, yeah.
As if you're dreaming.
Yeah.
Pinch me. Because I've read beautiful reviews.
Yeah.
One on the Gazette, on the internet, by Pat Donnelly, who's a very strong dance writer and dance critic. She's very supportive of the dance community. She wrote beautiful things about your piece. You're performing a lot also, I guess. It gets people, they have time to go see the show, hear about it, read about it, and then go and see it.
Yeah. That's a privilege too.
Definitely, yeah. How's the space as well at the Centaur? How do you manage it with all your big cast that you have on stage?
It's perfect. It's absolutely
I think
perfect place.
They replaced the stage for your arrival, if I heard.
Replaced the stage?
Yeah, I think they just put some new
floors or something?
New floor.
Oh yeah.
Just for you.
And painted it.
Right. Just made it dance friendly.
Yeah.
But if I can go more into that, I mean, I think on the opening night, I think I was even more nervous than on the opening night at home, and we have done more than 120 times. But maybe that says a lot about that. I mean, coming here to Montreal, to Cohen City, to the city of the people who owe him. Is that English?
Yeah.
Him more than we do, at least in our minds. That made us very, very nervous. So the first night was a relief because we felt a lot of love coming from the audience when we have finished, and during the piece. So it was wow. But every night is so wonderful. Wow! Thank you very much.
And you guys are on until April 14th. Is it always the same time every night?
No, it's different. I cannot remember what it is. It's a very special schedule.
Yeah, it's typically there's an evening show Tuesday to Saturday night. Most of the time it's at 8 p.m. There's I think a Tuesday or two where it's at 7.
Yeah.
And then you have a matinee usually on Saturday and Sunday, although some Sundays are 7 p.m. as well, just to keep you on your toes.
And people can find the information on the Centaur Theatre website anyway.
Exactly, yeah. So thank you so much for coming in and talking to us today. It's been a real pleasure. We've been speaking with Palle Granhøj, with Dorte Peterson and Bill Eldridge from the production Dance Me to the End, On Off Love. Go check it out. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The music that we've been enjoying this episode has been provided to us by the production Dance Me to the End, On Off Love. Dirty Feet is recorded every week at the Montreal Improv Theatre. Check them out at montrealimprov.com.
Dirty Feet is produced and hosted by
Alison Burns,
JD Papillon,
Joanie Farran,
and distributed by No More Radio.
You can find more about our show at nomoreradio.com. You can follow us on Twitter at Dirty Dirty Feet, and you can find us on Facebook at Dirty Feet Podcast.
Tune in next week for a whole new show.
I asked my father, said, Father, please change my name. The one I'm using now is filled with fear and filth and cowardice and shame.